Hey folks, welcome to another edition of Fitness Friday Posi-TIPS with Rachelle, where Friday is always the best day of the week. Gotta love it. Folks, last time, continuing this conversation, building upon what I discussed last time, these leadership lessons on the value of authenticity, leadership, and walking in purpose. So last time, I shared with you some of the trials and tribulations that I went through in roles where, whether my values, my life assignment, my purpose was not aligned. There was some misalignment there in terms of the roles, some of the roles that I've had in life. I could have given you more, but in the interest of time, shared a couple. And as promised, this time, actually going to go in a different direction and talk about when our lives are purposefully aligned. And so I'm going to talk more about this at the end of this episode, where I talk about my fitness, my own fitness, and some of the changes that I've made as a result of what's going on these days. And that is just overcoming adversity and recognizing that this, just like, yes, this is a very challenging time for so many people, not easy, but this is also a time for us to realign ourselves, to make sure our lives, we're focusing on what matters, that our priorities are where they need to be. And I can go on and on about that, but I'm going to move on with this particular episode. But folks, as we talk about situations and leadership, it is so important for us as leaders to reflect a sense of purpose, a sense of authenticity, and just a genuine passion and interest for whatever it is that we're doing in terms of leadership. Because leaders, and I I've been there myself. when you are misaligned, it is not a good situation. And yeah, you can put on the masks, you can smile and do all of these other things, but deep down that it's just not working. It is just not working. You are just not where you need to be. And that's why I think a time like this is really going to force a lot of people to make decisions in their lives, to realign things, to recognize, what, this situation isn't working for me. I need to make some changes. How can we all ultimately, and I know some of you, those who know me, are going to say, only Rachelle. But I personally have my own Rachelle's coronavirus challenge. And that is for me, how can I emerge from all of this, as I do in any instance of adversity? How can I emerge from this a better person, better character, just a better role model, a better mentor, a better speaker, trainer, coach, whatever the case may be, consultant, human being, most importantly. Adversity challenges us and develops our character like nothing else, when everything is easy and we're comfortable and this and that, those are not our growing times. The true growth comes during the hard times. So let's all, as much as humanly possible, have a positive attitude to recognize that, hey, I'm going to emerge from this on the other side a much better person than I was, when it started. So we can all cling to that hope and know that we, each and every day, we hang on in there, keep on keeping on with a positive attitude, we will emerge victorious, but more importantly, better human beings, less selfish, less, there's a lot of people who have a very strong need to be in control of things, and something like this will throw that into a tailspin. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. The ability to be flexible and adaptable to situations and recognize that truly, we are not in control. As much as people, as much as an individual may want to think that, hey, I'm running the show and this and that, situations like that, like these, clearly like this one that we're dealing with right now, the pandemic, clearly show. So I'm going to stop it there because church lady Rachelle can take this into a sermon right now, but I'm not going to do that. But so again, back to, once again, realigning with purpose. And so when you think about, when I reflect upon my life, bam, I told you folks, when I got this, when I was home in Louisiana for Christmas, my beloved now LSU steering wheel cover, I told you I was going to make good use of this, and you really didn't think that was going to be possible. But yes, folks, this is just such a great visual. But so when we think about, one of my favorite books, Jim Collins' Good to Great, we think about this concept that I talk about so often is, making sure that we have the right people on the bus. Number two, the right people in the right seats. Number three, getting the wrong people off the bus. And so I've shared with you, particularly in the last episode, as I mentioned, just some examples where I didn't need to be on certain buses. I was not in the right seat. And lastly, I had to make decisions to get off the wrong bus, My happiness is very important to you. And I shared some of the roots of that in terms of just how I was raised and the wonderful parents and a wonderful childhood. Got to give a shout out to good old Oscar and Rachelle Smith down in Shreveport, Louisiana. Will be celebrating their 50th anniversary, September 26th of this year. But they set me up. They really set me up, and I tell people I'm hardwired for happiness. So happiness is my default. Positivity is my default. People go, oh, you're such a positive person, whatever, personally, professionally. That is something I hear nonstop. And that's actually one of the reasons why positive is in my company, my business name. Because that is a defining characteristic of mine. But that started when I was young. And so for me, happiness is my default. So it's either a situation where it's going to maintain happiness, a level of happiness, peace, serenity, purpose, or it's going to veer me away from that and I'm going to become unhappy. And so whenever I get on off into the unhappiness zone, it's time for me to change some seats, to get off the bus and to get off different buses. To get on different buses, in alignment with what Jim Collins says. That we need to do successful companies. That's one of the things that they do. They take those three criteria very importantly and getting off the wrong bus and changing buses and realizing that you're in the wrong seat. That requires courage. It requires courage and it requires confidence. Because you may be afraid that people are going to judge you. You may be afraid that you're going to be ridiculed, rejected, whatever the case may be. And my thought is, and is again my own personal philosophy, is that my happiness, like any of that, is not worth my being unhappy for. That I have a very short patience level with being miserable and unhappy. And so for me, be walking around being negative and unhappy with a situation and complaining, that's not going to happen indefinitely. You hear me complain about something, that is a massive red flag. That is a very, very massive red flag. And so I've had to make some decisions in my own life. And that's truly, I remember a colleague of mine, Rob Nepper, when I left the corporate world, and he was with my last company, Gilead Sciences. And I so remember, when I turned in my resignation, and I so remember Rob, he had a really good sense of humor. He called me up and he was like, Rachelle, I heard you're leaving. And I said, well, yeah. And again, I'm always going to go out with class, always going to go out with a high note. I said, yeah, I sure am. And then he said, so where are you going? And I said, well, I don't have a job lined up. And he said, so essentially what you're saying is working nowhere is better than working here. And I said, well, hey, man, I didn't say it, you did. I didn't say it, you did. So we had a good laugh. But again, he had a humor, he had a very strong sense of humor, but he was also, again, very logical thinker, very, was able to read the situation very well. But I made that decision, like, I can't be unhappy. I just cannot deal with that. That is just not me. Those situations do not work for me. And so that's when I made the change. And have no regrets. And certainly, it thrust me into my life purpose, into this direction a lot sooner than I had planned. I had my own little life plan going on. I was going to spend so many years in corporate America and then venture out on my own as a consultant and speaker, and it just really accelerated that plan because it's so interesting. And I look back again, always being so positive. When I was plotting my life, how I was going to go, I never planned for unhappiness. The situations that are bound to occur in our lives where things don't work out, or I'm unhappy and I have to make changes, and this isn't going to according to plan. So I remember that. And so I just wanted to really encourage you. This is a time to assess, to reevaluate. This is something that I do in my life on a regular basis. I'm always determining, is this working? Is this not working out? And it's always, just any situation where just any level of unhappiness, I'm just challenging it and I'm questioning it. Like, what's going on? Am I in the wrong seat? Do I have no interest in doing this? Is this an obligation that I perhaps signed up for a long time ago? I'm always doing that. And I tell people happiness is a choice. and it's based on some decisions. I don't just, I have to make decisions that are aligned with my life purpose and passion and all of that. And as a result, yes, the positivity, the happiness, the energy, the enthusiasm, the zest for life, certainly reflects that. But I have to do things to make that happen, to ensure that continues. And so I just want to challenge you, if happiness is something that's important to you, sleeping well and having a good night's sleep, being at peace, being secure with who you are and where you are, what your purpose in life is. And you may think again, happiness and success is having a corner office and doing all of that, driving a certain kind of car, living in a certain type of neighborhood, but you're miserable. You wake up every day, you're miserable. All right, something needs to change, and that's all I'm saying. And personally and professionally, people, we've always got to go on offense. We got to be proactive about our lives and not always be reacting and unhappy and negative and Debbie Downer and all of that, negative Ned, Bob Bummer. We do ourselves a disservice as well as those around us a disservice when we do that. And so I just want to speak with a degree of credibility. I've been in some wrong seats. I've been on some wrong buses. I've had to get off some buses, get on change buses. And so I have absolutely no regrets. I have no regrets about doing that. And so we talked about last time, once again, some examples of me being some wrong buses, some wrong seats. And I've had to make some changes. So this time, when just the level of peace, the level of the absolute just enjoyment and serenity and happiness and tranquility and just meaningful existence that happens when our lives are aligned with purpose, particularly in leadership. And so I've got some examples here, personally and professionally, that really reflect when I think about my life's journey, and I tell people, yes, we may get on a wrong bus, we may have to get off the bus, we may be in a wrong seat, but each of those experiences shape us and mold us and help us to become better people. If we all live life on the right bus, in the right seats, each and every day, number one, our lives would be boring, would be extremely boring. But number two, we wouldn't grow, we wouldn't develop, we wouldn't evolve as individuals, people, but also as professionals. And so it's so important, the detours, the delays, the U-turns. I live in the Motor City, so there's always car or driving examples that abound living in a city like this. But just recognize each and every one of those, or there's good that comes from all of that, all of the missteps, the situations that don't work out, all of that help to shape us, help to, in many cases, to push us and thrust us into a new level of living and a new level of happiness, a new level of purpose in life and leadership. And so I'm going to put my wheel over here. And so wanted to share a few examples with you. And, we talked about last time just different career situations and how for me, when I transitioned into sales and started out in medical sales and pharmaceutical sales and transitioned on into biotech sales. And so, what a great experience that was for me. And of course now I'm, sales trainer is one of my hats, and so I evaluate salespeople, and that's all wonderful. But this is an example, number of years ago, I'm actually also a guest lecturer, and so college, university campuses as well as a speaker. But this was an example where, I know you can't see it because I have no projection screen, but I just wanted you to see it and get a little close enough. So this was actually, I was guest lecturing in my former marketing professor's class, Dr. Karen E. James. She's still there, I believe, at LSU in Shreveport. And so I was guest lecturing, and I did that a few times on sales, did a guest lecture on sales. And so this was actually a role play exercise with one of the students. So you got me role playing, I developed case studies and role plays and all of that. And so see, this was an example. So if I wouldn't have transitioned into sales, gone into a more purposeful and meaningful direction, this would have never happened. I love guest lecturing. I'm a teacher at heart. I'm an absolute teacher at heart. And so this was just an example of that. And so it's so important that we look at each phase of our lives, whether it be, positive or negative, some adversity thrown in there, some trials and tribulations. They are all stepping stones. They're all stepping stones to a greater life, and certainly more purpose, and all of that. So just wanted to share that example. Another example, and see, I save things. I'm just this was an example. This someone, actually, his name was Neil J. Simon, gave me this. It was at Lawrence Technological University here in Southfield. It was an entrepreneurs conference on a Saturday morning a few years ago, and I was a panel moderator. And so actually you could see, and he was one of the attendees, and Neil Simon, he and I connected on LinkedIn after that, but he, by now, it should be at least 40 years that he's been in business, has his own company, very successful. But he took a moment to write a note of encouragement on a napkin, and you can see years later, I still have it. He actually put Rochelle, a lot of people do that, Rochelle, Rachel, whatever the case may be, but this heartfelt encouragement written on, on the back of a napkin. And typically when I speak or when I train, when the day's over, when the session's over, the workshop's over, whatever the case may be, seminar, there'll always be a line, of people just to, shake my hand or thank me or say what what I had to say was, or whatever. People are wonderful. And so he was one of the people that actually, one line, he was waiting, it was his turn, and he just handed me this and said, "Good job, thanks for coming," and walked off. But anyway, what he said on it was, "You have a great facilitation style. I like it a lot." And so, see, I saved it after all these years. Little things like that are meaningful. Another time I was speaking, and another attendees, a lady was in line, and she came up to me, and it's hard when you're in that kind of situation because you want to, have a chat with people, but then you can't talk too long because you have other people waiting and you want to respect their time. And so things tend to move kind of fast. And I just remember her coming up to me, and she said some encouraging words about the seeds that I planted for many people that particular morning. And she handed me, and again, many years later, I have this, she handed me this acorn, this silver acorn. She gave me those words of encouragement, and she told me, put your hand out. And I put my hand out, and it was so unexpected. And she said, put that acorn in my hand. And then she said, close your hand and never let it go. Close your hand and never let it go. And so I still have this. I have this. I'm just talking about a small seed, and it ultimately will grow into a big acorn tree in the lives of many people. So very, very encouraging. Very, very encouraging. Let me put this over here. Don't want it to fall and then lose it. And also, from a client perspective, and there's one person, and this is actually, there's actually 3 or 4 different printouts when this particular individual gives me feedback, and due to confidentiality agreements, I can't go into detail about the project in terms of what I do, but I can tell you that this individual, the first initial Z, is a grateful soul. He is a grateful soul. And if there's one thing, we all have our idiosyncrasies, and mine is appreciation. I express appreciation a lot. I think that's probably one of my trademarks. People know that I'm just very big on appreciation. Appreciation means a lot to me. Expressing appreciation means a lot to me, and that's something that I also do quite often with others. But this one, this guy, he has his own company in a different state, and always sends words of appreciation to me after a project. And I just want to read, this one is dated, this email is dated January 15th, 2020, 2:28 p.m. And he says, Rachelle, your reports are so vivid and descriptive that it's like being there, ... And that is super helpful to our coaching and training efforts. Thank you for the tremendous effort you put into this report. Please accept a bonus. So just grateful, and just, you talk about like ideal clients, ideal people to work with. He'll send me messages, Rachelle, it's great to have you as part of the team. He's just a great human being, just a great human being. But again, when we think about purpose, when you think about purpose, there's always fruits in our lives of purpose. There's fruits. when I was misaligned in some situations in life, yes, I mean there was some residual fruit. Like when I was a youth mentor, hey, that I was highly regarded. I was known because again I'm an overachiever. So even in that type of situation, I was totally misaligned. College mentor, yes, I love college students. That's great. Did that for a number of years. But being a youth mentor of high school students, no, that was just misaligned. But even in that situation, even being on the wrong bus, I was on the youth mentoring bus, didn't need to be on that bus, was in the wrong seat, did not need to be a youth mentor. But anyway, made the best of the situation, wanted to fulfill my commitment that I made, to the church, and made that happen. So yes, I received some cards, received some texts, you're awesome, you're great, that's wonderful. But to me, I mean, that's just, it wasn't as meaningful, as something like this, where I'm there's alignment from a leadership perspective with my purpose, with my passion, with my values, with my life assignment. Making a difference, training, coaching efforts, speaking, and all of that, writing. And so I guess what I'm saying is I definitely way more, I put more emphasis and more value on certain types of feedback, and where they relate. I mean, all feedback is good. When people have positive things to say, when they appreciate you, that's wonderful. But it's just something that is incredibly meaningful when you are walking in your purpose and you're making a difference, and people express that to you. People express that to you. When you're aligned, when you wake up every day and I'm making a difference. I'm making a difference. The coronavirus situation, pandemic may be going on, but I have to remain committed to making a difference each and every day of my life. Making a difference in the lives of other people. Who can I encourage today? Who can I help? Who can I help to make a better professional, better person? How can I make a difference in the world? That commitment remains. And so realizing that, our days here on the earth are not unlimited. And so I know for me, really walking in my purpose and making a difference and just having that inner peace and security and serenity and happiness and joy really, really outshines all. So I have no problem admitting, I'm on the wrong bus, I'm in the wrong seat, I need to make some changes here. Yes, I'm going to hear the whole, guilt-inducing comments and statements of why, and why don't you rethink it again? Why don't you try it and just know we really love you? And just all of these different comments. Like, no, you got to follow your heart, recognize, I do not want to be doing this. And from a leadership perspective, that is just not a good situation. So we owe it to those we lead to be authentic. I owe it to you. On a Fitness Friday Positive-TIPS episode, non-Fitness Friday episode, but in real life, there's no difference between what I'm, the person I am here right now and the person that you will meet in line at Kroger, but we've got to be aligned. We've got to be aligned. But, being a youth mentor, that made me a better person. But I woke up that one morning and said, you know what, if I wanted to deal with this kind of stuff, this drama and all of this, just selfishness and self-centeredness and just profound insecurity and neediness, I would be a parent myself. I mean, and that's truly, people laugh when I say that, but it's like I reached that conclusion. If I wanted to deal with this, I would get married and have my own children. And so, see, my commitment and my valuing my freedom and all of that being tied down like that with somebody else's children, it didn't work out. But that's because I was misaligned, as I stated in the last episode. But something like this, I'll go to the ends of the earth, for Z. People like Z, because this is where my alignment is. This is where my purpose is. Part of where my purpose and alignment is, and the feedback. Quite honestly, the feedback shows, and it's on both. It's mutual. It's reciprocal. And I actually always have, I'm always having cutting out different inspirational sayings and stuff like that. And I've got a couple here on this. And there's a cutout I have here with Mark Cuban from an Inc. magazine, small business magazine issue. You've got to be willing to make mistakes. Mark Cuban, serial entrepreneur investor on the ABC series Shark Tank. Also, another cutout from another edition of Inc. magazine. Gil Dudowich from StartApp said the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur is continuing to believe in what you want to do and having the strength, the tenaciousness, and perseverance to continue. And so just a wonderful example, a wonderful inspiration to me, and to keep on keeping on, for those of us, regardless of what your path is. Perseverance, tenacity, believing in yourself is critical. It's critical, especially during these current times. And on a personal level, I wanted to limit, again, in the interest of keeping this episode shorter, just wanted to share that one professional example. I want to give you some personal examples. Like, yes, I encourage people, and that's very easy for me to do. It's called the gift of encouragement. I have the gift of encouragement. So no matter where I am, you will often find me lifting people up, encouraging people, empowering people, because that's just who I am, and that's just a gift of mine. So it's easy. It comes naturally. I send cards, I send email, I send text messages, I tell people in person, I do surveys, just all of that. So much of what you see in terms of feedback that I've given, formal feedback and some informal feedback, and that's where that stems from. Because some of you may be watching and thinking, like, how does she do this all the time? But that's because it's easy for me, and that's just part of my wiring. That's just part of who I am. It's very easy, and I'm just very big on recognizing and acknowledging people, and that's certainly one thing during this coronavirus situation is whenever I'm in a retail store, because these wonderful folks are on the front lines making sure that the grocery stores, open Walmart, Kroger, Meijer, whatever the case may be, CVS Pharmacy, I thank people profusely. I don't care if I've got to say it 10 times when I'm in a store. I see an employee walking by, or I see one standing there stocking, or I'm at the self-checkout and they've got the employee there in the self-checkout area. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. You'd be surprised how many of them say that no one tells them that. And these people are on the front lines sacrificing for us each and every day, folks. Let's all be grateful. They're all working hard, doing the best they can to keep these stores stocked and make things happen for us. And so on a personal level, I've got a couple of examples here. You can tell when things mean a lot to me, they end up framed and they end up, on my home office wall or my office wall, whatever the case may be. And so this was actually one, printed out this Facebook fan page notification that I received. This was Wednesday, February 5th, 2020, at 7:12 p.m. And so this message came, and I still remember I was at home, and I was doing something in the kitchen, and multitasking is always so. I had my phone in my hand, and I was scrolling down email, and I was doing something else, and then I saw this message, and I remember it just stopped me dead in my tracks. It's a fellow Northwestern alum, Johnny Orem. Johnny and I served in as board members on the local Northwestern Alumni Club of Metro Detroit a few years ago. And Johnny ultimately became president, did a wonderful job, currently living in Brazil. And so he sent a reply, to one of the posts that I had either that day or the day before. And Johnny simply said, and I was just stopped me dead in my tracks, happy because you were in this world. And if there's anybody that knows Johnny is one of the most sincere, genuine people you will ever meet in your life. He's just a good person overall. So it wasn't, how some people, they would say something like that and you'd be like, you just kind of blow it off. And but this one, very, very sincere. So I believe my post was around happiness. I think it was a Posi-TIPS dealing with happiness and making life changes. It was a non-Fitness Friday episode, Posi-TIPS, in February, and he replied to it. But he, I've gotten text messages, email messages, comments in person when he still lived in Detroit. You know what, Rachelle, you're making a difference. You're such an inspiration to so many people. You've certainly inspired positive change in my life, and it's just, for him to send this, it just really kind of stopped me dead in my tracks. And so, just as a fellow Northwestern alum, I mean, I can't say enough great things about just the overall level of encouragement and support I received from members, fellow Northwestern alumni members across the country in so many different ways. I mean, I don't want to turn this could turn into a whole episode on that, but just the support has been absolutely unreal since graduation. Yes, I had a phenomenal experience as a graduate student there on campus at Northwestern in Evanston. You know, really, really loved it. Wonderful experience. Didn't think it could get any better. But the alumni experience, that has truly, truly been just awesome. I mean, there's just no other way to just say it. And another Northwestern alum is received, this is actually a text message thread here. Megan Dowd. So Megan Felsberg Dowd, and she met her husband Nate. They currently live in Ann Arbor. She's actually an assistant or associate, one of the two, a vice president of advancement. So she's in fundraising at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. But she and her husband Nate met as undergraduates at Northwestern. I didn't know her at the time back in the day, but she and I also served as board members here in the local club. And so last August, you know, we had this, you know, she and I keep in touch on text message, and, you know, I love Ann Arbor, you know, so it's funny, at one point she said, you know, Rachelle, you're actually, because, you know, I'm a volunteer, a healthy participant volunteer for Vision of Clinical Research and for Michigan Medicine. And she said, one time we were texting, and she said, you know, Rachelle, you're actually on campus more than some of our students are. I love Ann Arbor. And so this here, the thread is, part of the thread is, and the reason why, just another one that really kind of stopped me dead in my tracks, because if there's one thing about Megan and her husband Nate, once again, very sincere. And I always tell her, like, you and Nate are two of the most wholesome, you know, you just meet people, and you know, the word wholesome is not a word that we use too often, but very wholesome, very, very wholesome couple. And she too has been a great encouragement to me in this text message that came, where she said, your positivity, entrepreneurial spirit, and passion for helping others is so infectious, and you make us all better just by knowing you. Have an awesome Friday. And so I said, you know what, that those words just really meant a lot to me, and so printed that out and have this reminder there on my wall. And so it's just little things like that, little ways that we can all encourage people. Always encourage people, but I would argue too, though, but when you're walking in your purpose, particularly from a leadership perspective, you know, do you really want to wake up living a lie? You know, chasing something that society says you should do, be, and have, and it's just really not who you are deep down. It's just really not. It's not working. You know, like Dr. Phil. Folks, you gotta watch Dr. Phil. I'm a big Dr. Phil fan. One something he always says is, how's that working for you? And the person is usually like, well, it's not working at all. That's why I'm here on the Dr. Phil show. But so we really got to ask ourselves, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Can we wake up every day? Are we waking up every day full of zest, full of life, glad to be alive? Yes, with this current situation, the pandemic going on, things are very serious. But are we still full of zest, full of life? Asking ourselves, how can we bless someone else? How can we give to someone else? How can we make someone else's life better? How can we encourage someone? How can we make a difference in someone's life? How can we make the world a better place, even in spite of this? How can we become better people at the end of the day? When this is all over, we can look back and say, yes, I made it through it. But I'm a better person. Because of all of that. The adversity, all of the adversity in our lives is so important for developing our character, making us stronger, making us just better human beings, developing, yes, our humility. This is actually something that I've said to a number of people over here over the last several days, is there's one thing that this pandemic is doing is developing humility in a whole lot of us, in many different ways, unexpected ways. You know, we've got to be considerate with people. people. When you walk into a grocery store and people are used to buying their favorite brands and their favorite items, and now maybe out of stock, for weeks. We've got to, hey, just be glad there's other options. You can buy this instead of your favorite brand. You can try a different brand. At least there's something available. But there's a lot of humility that's required on our parts, all of our parts. And we are truly going to be better people. Less self-centered, thinking about our neighbor, thinking about those individuals who are high risk. Can I run some errands for you? Can I pick up some prescriptions? Making phone calls instead of text messaging or emails. Really communicating like on that personal touch level like we used to do back in the day before e-communication became so prevalent. So let's all just say we're going to become better people. We're going to be stronger. We're going to be better when this is all over. And so I'm going to close this episode out. Again, speaking of humility, me, I've been to the beginning of the year working on my humility. Actually, really since about late last fall, working on my humility. And life has a way, and this is actually a Rachelleism. This is actually something I've always said here for the last few years. Life has a way of humbling all of us, no exceptions. So it's just a matter of what aspect or aspects of your life. And of course, you know me from a fitness perspective, so I'm closing out with this one. Rachelle Gym Lover Smith. Be 26 years on May 17th of this year. My fitness journey focused exclusively in fitness facilities. And so now that option is temporarily gone. That action is temporarily gone. Rightfully so. We have a stay-at-home order in the state of Michigan. I support Governor Whitmer. I honor that, understand that. But think about it. For the first time in all of my life, and from my fitness journey life, I had to make a decision. So it's either, okay, so the gym option that you've relied on for so long is now not available. And as I talked about last Friday you heard about last Friday on that Posi-TIPS episode. So when the gyms closed, then I had plan B all the way to plan F, and plan F, and that plan F, which was what I actually did last Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, which was I'm going to the mall and power walk, for an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, which is what my normal cardio portion of my workout would be at the gym. And so did that for 3 days, and then folks, Friday, it was announced that the malls, our local malls here, were closing. The mall here in Novi, large mall, 12 Oaks, was closing. That was announced, so it's going to be March 20th through the 29th, and I know it's actually going to be extended and longer than that. Totally understand. So Plan F fell through after those 3 days. And so I had a decision to make. Plan G, which is something that I never imagined, and you've heard me talk about this, was working out at home at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center. And so I've got some items, which I alluded to in the last episode, actually from my old powerhouse days. I would bring some of my own things, and so those items were still available. Resistance bands, my agility speed ladder, jump rope, yoga mat, yoga blocks. So I had all that stuff ready available, and so I was like, man, workout at home, I have no motivation for doing that. And let me explain, you've heard me allude to that, my lack of motivation in terms of home workouts. You've heard me allude to that before. And let me provide a little background and context for that and why that is. So for me, as you all know, for those of you, perhaps this may be the first time you're watching me, but I'm very passionate about fitness. But there is a difference between being passionate and being obsessed. And so for me, personally, again, this is not you, this is not your neighbor, this is not anyone else. I'm only describing my own personal reality. So for me, working out has always meant going out, leaving the house, going to a facility, regardless of what state or country that I was in. And so that almost 26 years, that's been it. So when I get in my car, or in the case of when I lived in Chicago, when I walked back to my graduate dorm room, it was over. It was done. And so for me, when I leave the gym in the mornings, typically when my gyms are open, my routine, and when I leave that gym, when I'm walking out of the door to my car, I'm done with fitness. I'm done with fitness for the day. And so for me, working out at a gym, and then, a lot of people have home equipment, they have, body work type of equipment and things like that at home or whatever. There's a lot of people that can work out at home, and I truly admire people, and I've even gained a higher level of respect for people that do that now. And so, but for me, the balance in terms of maintaining balance where passion does not become an obsession for me. Again, this is just me. I don't want anyone to feel like, oh my gosh, she's right. I'm getting obsessed with this. I work out at the gym and then I work out at home later. That for me, it would be an obsession. And that's just my own personal life. So to maintain balance, when I'm pulling into my driveway, the concept of fitness is over. Whether I'm, coming up to take an Epsom salt bath soak, whatever, in my house, I'm done for the rest of the day. When I work out in the mornings, I have zero interest in working out later in the day. Again, going back to the gym at night, twice a day, doing exercises and stuff at home. I have no motivation for that, but that is because I'm trying, and successfully have done so, maintain balance. Where that way it doesn't delve into an obsession. Like, say for instance, personally for me, I work out at the gym in the mornings, and say I have my favorite machine, Precore EFX. I hypothetically had a Precore EFX at home, and then I may be prone to come home and get on that like I used to do at Powerhouse. I used to be on that machine anywhere between 1 to about an hour, hour and a half on that machine alone, and then I would cross train into other cardio. My workouts at Powerhouse were about 3 hours. Loved every minute of it, but that's because, again, I had the breadth and depth to be able to do that. But so for me, I'm just utilizing this as an example of, imagine if I had a Precore right over there. Okay, I work out in the mornings, it's great, and then come home, and then I'm sitting here looking at my machine, looking at my Precore EFX. Well, you know what, I really should get on that machine. And there's nothing wrong with, there's people that do that every day, and that's wonderful, and that works for them. But for me, that's just going to throw off my balance. That's just going to throw off my sense of balance and potentially throw me into fitness obsession, where I'm obsessing about it, and then all of a sudden, no amount of working out is ever enough, and that's how people become addicted to fitness and just all of that. I've just got to work out 4 hours a day. It's those small steps where people ultimately kind of slide down that path, and I just know for me to protect myself, to just keep it a healthy passion, a healthy balance in my life, taking, health, wellness, and fitness. I want it to stay there. I don't want it to become an idol in my life. I don't want it to become a god in my life where I'm spending 4 or 5 hours a day working out. And that's just, for me personally, easy to do if I've got stuff in my house. And for me, because, I've associated working out for so many years with going out to a facility, that defines my fitness journey. I mean, that's truly defined it in many different ways, but I've always had that sense of balance where I can leave it when I'm done in the mornings. It's over. It's over for me. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not interested in doing all this kind of stuff at home when I've already worked out earlier that day. This is my balance. This is my balance. And because, again, I have that balance, I'm able to do other things and be a voracious reader. Current events, news, things like that, books, biographies, magazines, business magazines. There's all types of things. I have times for other life pleasures, and people. People are very important in my life. So those type of things. So we have to make that call individually. And again, in alignment with who we are, what our values are, what's important to us. There's plenty of people that are able to do that and do split workouts and all of that, gym and home. Keep on keeping on. Whatever works for you. But I only just want to provide additional context in terms of what I do and why I do what I do, and how it's worked for me and helped me to be a whole, balanced person, which is so important. So, mall was closed. So plan F fell through. Plan G. So what am my only option is working out, walking outside, or working out, doing some things here at home, or either or. And so it's winter, so it's still cold, and I have an issue, and I actually have ever since I moved up north from Miami. It's just the winter time, they can really knock me down. And so I can end up with sinus infections, and that's just not a good situation. And so I know that being indoors, climate controlled situation is certainly in my best interest, in the best bet. So working out at home. So last week, so and I'm not going to go into all the different emails. So got the initial email, from Planet Fitness, and so they announced work-ins. So Planet Fitness, they announced like, hey, yeah, so it was March 16th. Got this email, free in-home workout classes, March 16th, 2020 at 2:15. And so they announced, United We Move, home work-ins. And so I said, that's interesting. With news changing daily, we're committed to continuing to provide you with healthy and safe alternatives to keep moving. We know the best way to stay healthy is to stay active, especially now. Exercise can reduce stress, help you stay healthy, and keep you feeling great. So we're offering free in-home workouts live streamed daily for all Planet Fitness members and non-members alike. Workouts will be led by our trainers and surprise celebrity guests. If you missed the live chat, you can come back and watch it later. No equipment needed, classes 20 minutes or less. And so they've got the link to Facebook Live and all of that. And I was intrigued and said, okay. And so it first one started that day, so the 16th of March, and 4 p.m. Pacific, 5 Mountain, 6 Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. And so, of course, me working out mornings, early mornings, that's where my motivation is. It's always been since, except for living in Louisiana, because I had college, I was in college classes in the mornings. So I would actually go typically around lunchtime when I was done with college. So apart from that, morning is pretty much my time. So I thought I was like 7 p.m. Okay, I have no motivation at 7 p.m. So I'll be honest, but I did tune in. I was on my couch, had my iPad, and so I was sitting there watching. And it's just that's from a motivation standpoint, I was just sitting there in my pajamas, sitting there watching that, and I said, you know what, just awesome concept, very, very creative, and you would expect that from Planet to come out front, to lead from out front with this concept, very strong concept. But I was thinking, man, it's late in the day, I have no motivation, like this is crazy, whatever. And so what am I going to do? And at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And then that's when I made the decision, okay, got to go to the mall. And I did the next day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, went to the mall and power walked. So that was going to be it. But then the mall closed. And so this whole working out and doing something at home became a serious reality. So I credit, even though it didn't spur me into action, because I just have natural barriers working out in my house. When I hit the driveway, I'm just done. So that's hard to overcome almost 26 years of that mindset. And so, but I appreciated the idea, I appreciated the concept, and I said, you know what, okay. So, but at least it planted a seed. It absolutely planted a seed of, okay, working out. I didn't think it was going to ultimately come to that, but it did. When the malls closed, when the mall closed last Friday and couldn't do that. So that was the initial seed. So, but then I got an email from Edge Fitness Clubs, and they announced, and this can be a whole discussion on competitive strategy. And so, of course, Planet came out with this wonderful idea, and then Edge and others, but certainly Edge got out right out fairly quickly after Planet made that announcement. Edge did something very similar, and so they too have daily live streams as well. And so I kind of watched theirs over the last week or so. I've watched them evolve, because that Tuesday morning, even though I power walked, Greg DiNatale there was a Facebook Live, but I watched it after the fact, because I don't have a personal Facebook page, so I just actually go to the actual website or Facebook page and then click on it and listen to it that way. But I was actually in Walmart and I was listening, had my earbuds in, listening to Greg Natale, who's the director of fitness education at Edge, and he gave about a 30-minute talk on the value of protein, and I was all over that, because that's always something, fitness and nutrition and things like that's always something that's important to me. So I tuned in, and so that was another good seed. But anyway, they have evolved. I mean, they started out with their initial plan was they had 3 live streams a day. So it was like 8:30, noon, and 5:30. And then they kind of planted the seed. Well, at least they have. I'm telling myself, well, at least they have a class in the morning. So maybe in the morning I could be more, that okay, maybe tune in, see what's going on, whatever this and that. And so to make a long story short, I've never done a group fitness class. So this, of course, is a very different concept because it's you're just seeing this person on the screen and whatever you're doing things along with them. So it is kind of like a one-on-one class in a way. And so, quite honestly, I just didn't have a lot of motivation for that either. And so, but what I did do, and just looking back at Edge, and I have to give Edge credit for this, is I watched them particularly evolve over the last week where they had different modalities of workouts. It was 35 minutes or so. Anywhere actually 30 to about 45, depending on the class, a little bit longer workout time. And so I went to the Facebook page and I was just watching different ones one day last week. And I said, and it planted another seed. So I got some great information from Greg DiNatale. And then also just looking at their schedule and how it's evolved over the past week of different modalities of fitness. It really planted a very big seed. And said to me, so I tuned in for about 2 minutes or so, a minute or two, just tapped on different ones and looked at them. There was like cardio boxing, bar, yoga. They had one lady, they did a number of HIIT or high intensity interval training exercises, workouts. So those were daily, but different modalities. So me, if that's one thing, for me, it's just I need variety. I need constant change. I can't go in and do the same workout every day. It's got to change. And they had different people, different group fitness instructors, different trainers doing it. So I would just tune in and I wouldn't do it with them, but I was just tuning in and it was planting seeds. Looking back now, I can see it was planting wonderful seeds that, okay, Rachelle, okay, you got to make this thing happen. You got to make this thing happen. And what really, and this was last Friday, and I was doing it again, just looking at different ones during the course of the day, but what really was my turning point in order for me adopting a workout mindset of Rachelle's Home Fitness, or at Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, which is really a split between my garage for cardio and my floor, my living room floor for yoga and yoga mats and all that kind of stuff. Resistance training. It's warmer up here. And so, but the breakthrough occurred when I clicked on the cardio dance class. I don't remember the lady's name, but she was a cardio dance class, and I'm a dancer, and it's wonderful. And so I thought to myself, you know what, Rachelle? Always in adversity, I'm always asking myself, what goals? Again, how can I come out of this a better person? What goals can I achieve, even in this situation? So I said, you know what? I can create new dance routines. I can create new baton routines and combo routines, dance a baton. I haven't created a new routine since I've been at Powerhouse. How can I just learn something new, do something new, and integrate that into my jump rope and resistance training, agility, and speed ladder, just different things like that, just in terms of yoga. How can I integrate all of this to give me the variety, the change? How can I make this all happen? And it did not really come together until I saw that cardio dance class with that lady, whoever was teaching that class. And the cardio guy, the cardio boxing guy, cardio kickboxing class, he was just so engaging and so enthusiastic, but it just really seeing the different modalities. And now they've really developed this over the last week or so, but they've got, live workouts. So for example, class schedule Monday, March 23rd, Instagram, 8 o'clock, morning motivation. Instagram, 8:30, HIIT, or interval training, high intensity interval training. And so Facebook, 9 o'clock, morning motivation. Facebook, 9:30, another HIIT class. Instagram, 12:15, bar. Let's see next. Facebook, 12:30, Edge Strong. Instagram, 5:30, total body conditioning. Facebook, 7 o'clock, yoga. Facebook, 8 o'clock, hip hop live. And so, we have to realize, this is a situation where, Again, this is a sales-driven franchise. So the goals are very different, very, very different between, Planet and in terms of, keeping their members engaged, coming up with this great idea to keep members engaged, but also, yes, member retention. Because you've got a number of people, I know a number of people here locally that I know on a regular, that I know personally, that have gym memberships that have purchased very expensive home equipment. And so their memberships are vulnerable at this point. So there's going to be a lot of people in that situation in terms of gyms retaining members when this is all over. And so, it's just a matter of figuring out, what works for us, what can we do. And so different, and depending on what the overall strategy is, marketing strategy, retention strategy, new member acquisition strategy. This isn't that type of episode. This is a leadership episode. But just depending on what the objectives are for having these. Okay, Edge is all about, yes, retaining members, but also promoting their group fitness classes, their personal training, which are higher membership tiers and more expensive. They promote products. You hear them talking about products during some of these, like Greg DiNatale was talking about different protein, different, versions of whey protein. And so they're also highlighting product that is sold in their facilities, and also you can get it at Amazon and all these other different places. But so you think about that, very different objectives. Okay, Planet, very marketing driven organization. So beautiful set. They've got surprise celebrity guests and all of this and that. Cute little setups when you see them, doing their daily lives and stuff. Just very cute setups with coordinated arrangement. Where again, Edge is very raw. One lady was doing, high intensity interval training workouts. She was leading the class, and she was on a farm, her own farm in Rhode Island. You've got people in there on their living room floor, so very, very raw, very, very different experience. And I personally, I'm very raw, so I was down there in my garage making stuff happen, and so just very different perspectives, very different objectives. Yes, people want to hold on to their people. People want to also, by having it free for members and non-members, open it up to potential new members in terms of new member acquisition when this is all over, and even during, so very different strategies. But I've got to give Edge Fitness credit for that really pushed me over the hump. And last Saturday morning, I went down to have my inaugural workout, Rachelle's Home Fitness Center, in my garage. Started out in my garage, and I made it happen, and I'm continuing to make it happen. When it's very, very warm outside, which I describe as 50 and above, then I can rotate those days. A power walk later in the day when it's warmer. So again, just to give myself some variety, and I just can't do the same thing every day. So I'm always mixing things up in a gym situation or setting, and so I'm always mixing them up now, and certainly as well. But also wanted to highlight as well Anytime Fitness, and so got an email from Anytime Fitness. Going to close with this. So this would have been Tuesday. Tuesday. So the title of the message, this came yesterday at 9:35 a.m. So extended downtime and new virtual training session today at 6. So again, here they are. Certainly more delayed than some of the others. But what do you have with Anytime Fitness? You've got contracts. You've got folks locked in contracts. So a little bit different situation. Yes, a sense of urgency, but certainly a greater sense of urgency when you've got a lot of people. There was no contract memberships, or total no contract memberships in some of these fitness chains, which makes them certainly a lot more vulnerable than those in contract situations. And so, dear prospects, so the title of this, this email here says Stronger Together, AF Training, so Anytime Fitness Training, anytime, anywhere. Dear prospects, and it has working out at home, but I want to read this paragraph here before I close. New virtual training. We are excited to announce a new way for you to stay connected with us, accountable to your fitness goals, and interact with other members, all while having fun and getting a great workout led by one of our coaches. Starting today, we are launching our virtual coaching program via Zoom. We'll be able to bring many aspects of our club's culture right to your house. Knowledgeable coaches, friendly atmosphere, and a supportive community, just to name a few. You'll experience the same energy, camaraderie, and fun that Anytime Fitness Training is known for. With the new challenges that with the new challenges that COVID-19 has presented us, it has never been more important to commit to your health, fitness, and overall wellness. Let us help you use this time to refocus on your fitness goals in a different way and continue your journey to making healthy happen. Please join us at 6 p.m. tonight for our first virtual group session via Zoom. No equipment needed. Zoom invitation today at 6, and it has the link here. Our brand purpose is to help real people overcome the barriers to living a healthier life. Right now, our communities are isolated, anxious, and overwhelmed with the realities of social distancing and the closures of their schools, their work, and their gyms. Life is very disrupted and feels uncertain. Let's focus on what we can control and come out of this thing stronger than ever, stronger together. Thank you for your continued support. Also, we'll be posting our group fitness schedule and Zoom link to Facebook and Instagram. Please help us out by spreading the word to your friends and family by sharing our posts. See, once again, from a competitive strategy, okay, who got out front first? Planet Fitness. And then others are following suit. Others are following suit. It was a wonderful idea they came up with. And so opened it up where it's not just only members only, so there's certainly a new member acquisition that can be part of that. But this is an area too, and I certainly agree with that email. I mean, this is a time we're talking about life realignment, prioritizing things. I have seen more people, more families out walking, people out walking when I run to the store or anything like that. I have seen more people walking than I ever have since I've lived here in Novi. I mean, it's just, you see people getting out, people walking. And again, to be fair, our governor has allowed, walking, exercise, as long as you keep maintain the required distance. So that is allowed. We are all following the rules here. But that is an example. Get out, get some fresh air. How many people do that on a regular, apart from this situation? People are getting out, they're exercising, they're walking, which is a wonderful thing to see. Other people running, but just, I'm really hoping also too, one of the ways that people can realign and grow is that, hey, my health, my fitness, my wellness is so important. How can I come up higher in this area, which has not been a priority of mine, a lot of people may say. So it's always an opportunity for us to learn and grow. So folks, we will come out of this stronger. We will come out of this better. We will come out of this with greater character, greater depth as individuals, and certainly a higher level of humility. So let's just keep on keeping on. Let's just keep on doing what we do, making a difference in the world, determining what our true values and purposes, and make sure our lives, and most importantly, our leadership reflects that. Parents, this is just a great time. We may be too busy, work may be consuming for you typically, but now the pause button has been put on, your work life, the pause button is on. This is a time to reconnect with family. Let's all look for the silver lining, the positivity, even in such a dire, tragic circumstances that are going on around us. And we will make it through this. We will make it through this. So I encourage you people, each and every one of you, encourage you folks, keep your heads up. Keep your heads up. Keep your heads up. We will make it through. And I look forward to continuing this leadership lesson series next time, when I'm going to be focusing on what's your problem. I'm going to be bringing that back. What's your problem? What's your problem? This is an opportunity. The pause button has been hit on life. Especially here in the United States. Pause. Okay, and this will give everybody an opportunity. What's my problem? I'm not happy. This isn't working. I hate my job. This relationship is bad. But what is my problem? And making sure that we're defining the problem correctly and to coming up with appropriate solutions that will truly solve the problem and not simply address symptoms of the problem. We've got to get at the root. And so in fitness leadership, this is something that is so important. So another way for us to learn and grow. Determine what are problem areas in our lives and come up with solutions. All right, no time is as good as right now. So I can't wait until next week, folks. Stay tuned, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive, and I can't wait to see you next time. But until then, remember, I am positively passionate about your success, life, happiness, and leadership. Make it a great day.